So, this is Curse of the Dead Gods. This is a action roguelike dungeon crawler game. It's developed by Passtech Games, who haven't really heard much about, and having a look at their library. They haven't done too many games. They've only done about 3 games prior to this. This definitely seems to be their bigger one. And it's published by Focus Entertainment. This game I've only slightly heard about, but I never really got around to it. The reason why I've ended up playing it is actually because it's become part of the PS Plus collection as of May. It included this, Tribes of Midgard, and FIFA 22. So I thought, perfect opportunity to try something like this out. It's free, why the hell not? Now, I'm somebody who really loves roguelike games. I'm a big fan of them. I love the genre. I play as many of them as I possibly can. I do understand some people can be a little bit annoyed by these type of games because of there's so many of them. But for me, I can't get enough of them. I really love the gameplay style. I like how punishing it can be. I like the RNG nature to some extent. I do feel some of them can be a little bit extreme, but for the most part, I enjoy stuff like that. And I enjoy these type of games. Like, I play a lot of Dead Cells, Hades, Binding of Isaac, Ziggurat, Slay the Spire. I go through quite a lot of them, and I really like the idea of them being very easy games to just play and then just put down. And for me, considering the library of roguelike games that I've played, this game I really enjoy. I really rate this highly up there with the other roguelites. I've had a lot of fun with this game, and I feel really bad for sleeping on it. And I'm really glad PlayStation Plus has given me the opportunity to play this game. So before we proceed any further, first of all, I'm just going to go for the options menu. I am playing this on the PS5, but just have a look through, just because. So you see here, you got audio sliders. Go over the controls. This is something I like to point out because this is something I really like, and I really hope more games end up doing it, is the fact that you can rebind every single control here. Everything can be reboundable. And I think that's fantastic. I see no reason why console games shouldn't be doing more things like this in the same vein as PC, and I would like to see more of these. I'm not a big fan of the presets, and I'm definitely not a fan of where it's a simple case that, well, it's kind of a tough shit scenario. You either use the controls or you don't. I really like that this game has introduced this, and I really hope more console games also introduce this type of feature, so I think that's really good. And then miscellaneous. Cap frame rate to 30 FPS. Absolutely no idea why that's there. I don't know why you would do that. I don't know if it's the case of they were afraid that it wasn't working well on console. Maybe there was a point where it was just not working well on consoles or anything. No idea, but I've naturally turned that off because, I don't want to be capped at 30 frames per second. And then screen shake. It's a fine feature. Nothing too bothersome. So that's that. We're just going to jump straight in. Now, as you can see, I'm about 25% through the game. I've played roughly around about 10 hours of this game, and I did have about 1 or 2 sessions before recording today. So, so I've gone quite a fair bit through it. Because as I said, this is indeed a first impressions. So here we go. Here is the hub world. As you can see, you just jump straight in. Right straight in. You know what I mean? And it looks really nice. The aesthetic looks really clean. It looks very appealing. Having a look online, I'm seeing a lot of comparisons of this game to Hades. I had a little look into the developers, and I saw that they mentioned that their art style was more inspired of the likes of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Darkest Dungeon. I can definitely see a lot more Darkest Dungeon in this, not so much Breath of the Wild, but yeah, this game does get a lot of comparisons to Hades, which I think is a little bit unfair. There are stuff at surface value that you can point out, like the fact there are weapons over here you can select before you go into a run, the fact that there are traps that can be used, and the combat is quite fast-paced. But there is way more to this game than Hades. I'm not saying Hades is bad at all. Don't get me wrong, absolutely love Hades. But I want to point out that this game is more than the sum of its parts, and I just want to show that this is just more than what people I've seen online call a Hades clone. So before we proceed, let's have a quick look into the shop here. So here is where you can get these artifacts. These artifacts are things that will buff you for your entire run. I've currently got equipped the Brutal Temper, so when I kill multiple enemies, I will get damage buff. Here, oh no, not that one. This one, I will gain 5 dexterity at the start of my exploration, and my perfect dodge triggers haste, which means that I just move faster. And then we got Will of Sikal. I think that's how it's called. Your corruption threshold increases from 100 to 120. That will be explained as we go through the game. Forsaken Weaponry is a very cool feature. You can basically unlock more powerful weapons that will drop throughout your run. What's also cool about this is that if you have certain weapons you like and certain weapons you don't like, you can banish the weapon, meaning that it won't appear in the run at all. This is perfect if, again, you've unlocked a weapon and you just think, I really hate this weapon, I don't want it in my run, or you're trying to go for specific weapons, so you banish other weapons to get that specific one. I think this is a really nice feature. It makes it really good for, targeting those really strong weapons that you want, or just the simple case that, again, if you don't want to play with a weapon, you can just banish it and never use it again. I think it's a really nice feature, and I'm glad that's there. As you can see, these are unlocked through these rings. These are items you get by beating bosses in the game, and some of them will cost more than others, and there's about 3 pages full. So this is how many weapons you can unlock. Some of them are locked, and as you can see here, you need to equip them in order to reveal it, so there are some weapons that I just simply haven't equipped yet, but yeah. There you go. That's only to be fair, there's only 7 that I haven't equipped? But yeah. So that's the weapons feature there. Head over to weapon alters. This is just to give you better chances of getting certain weapons at the altars and so on and so forth. And then over here, the Divine Favors. This is a refresh system. So if you go through the game, you're going to have shops. And if there are items that you don't like, you can refresh them with the Divine Favors. You can unlock more, so it means you've got more freedom to keep refreshing if you so desire. So that's the shop there. So you probably noticed from the words and stuff and how it's looked, it's very Mayan themed. So again, if we are comparing it to the likes of Hades, you can say that, well, they're both mythology based. But I find that this is a lot more interesting. Greek mythology, it's a very well-explored mythology, while Aztec or Mayan, not so much. So it's quite nice and unique to have something that is more unique in that sense. I do really feel that we should eventually get a Norse roguelike game. I think that would be pretty fantastic. I know that's also a mythology that's been done to death, but I'm a big fan of Norse mythology. So before every run, you can actually select from this table here. You can run it in with these 2 starter weapons at the bottom left. However, they often aren't very good, so you might as well grab something from the table. So I get throw knives, barbed wire, and a swift bow. Or I can have blunt claws, braided whip, or primitive spear, which I think, for me, that's more what I like. So I got that equipped. So as you can see, you get 3 weapons with a run as well as a torch. With the weapon, your square is your basic weapon. Your triangle is your secondary weapon. What the game encourages you to do is you can do things like that. So when it lights up, it means that I'm at the end of my combo. You've probably noticed the little diamond things moving there. That is your stamina system. So it's kind of like in the same vein as Dark Souls, where you've got to keep your stamina up. And as you're making more moves, you're going to lose stamina. If you roll, you're going to use stamina, and once you run out of stamina, it's very difficult for you to progress. The whip is way more used to combo with, so like that. So instead of doing 4 times, which ends by combo there, I'll do 3 times, and then use the whip to finish that combo, and that will take up a slot. And your circle is a heavy weapon. These tend to be more damaging, but every attack will cost 1 stamina point, so these things you've got to be very careful with. A very high risk, high reward type of scenario. So let's go into the gate here and we'll show you how to play the game. So there's 3 layers here at the moment. I haven't currently unlocked the top one, but what you'll see here is that I've beaten these first 2 layers and haven't yet to beat the 3rd layer as of yet. One thing to point out with this game, I do find, I think that this game is a bit easy. Compared to other roguelites, this is one of the easiest ones I have. As I said, I've only played for about a couple of hours, right? And I've only died maybe about 5 or 6 times. I really haven't died a whole lot. Before this, I died quite a few times, but that's because I was experimenting with something, with a game mechanic. But other than that, I really haven't died all that much. Now, again, it might be because I've played a lot of roguelites that I kind of understand mechanics and understand how the game works from the get-go. But, you know, that's just how I feel. I find this game pretty easy, and I've gone through these levels with relative ease. However, it's not to say that the game is easy. I will feel that if you are somebody who is new to roguelites or you've only played a handful, you are going to get your ass kicked with this game. It is very challenging and it is very brutal. But I'm saying it as, if you're somebody who is more versed in the genre and has played more of those games, you are probably going to have an easier time with a game like this. So what I really love about how the system works is that you actually get to choose what type of level you want to deal with. So unlike other roguelike games that tend to, you just go straight in and you've got to go through the levels as they give it to you, this game actually gives you the options of what type of levels you want to go through. So this is like a fire level, this is a lightning level, and this is a dreaded poison level because everybody loves poison levels. You know, Miyazaki would absolutely love this level. And you can choose which one you want to do. What's also really cool is that each layer means how many bosses you end up fighting. So the first layer is only one boss. 2 layers means you fight 2 bosses. 3 layers you fight 3 bosses. So it increases in its difficulty as you go up the layer. Now, as you can see, introduction. So these are more the tutorial levels. It's more to get used to the game and all things like that. And this is more where you're going to want to start, you know, playing the game a little bit proper. And then these layers are more what I feel are meant to be more of the game. But what I really like about this, because see, like, this takes 10 minutes, this takes 20, this will probably take about 30. What I love about this feature is that it basically gives the user the option of what they want to play. So if you're somebody that really wants to play a quick game, but you know you're going to have to go, you can play one of the beginning levels. It takes you 10 minutes. If you want to play, you know, you've got some time, but you don't know how much time you've got, you can play a medium level. Or if you know you've got quite a lot of time, you want to invest a lot of time into this game, you can play the harder level. Sure, you've got to unlock them first. Like, you've got to basically beat all these to get to this layer. So I had to beat this to get to this, and then beat that to get to that. And then I assume you've got to beat these 3 to get to that top one. And I really love that choice you get, because a lot of roguelites, you know, tend to, you have to play it as is, and roguelites tend to last, you know, an hour, maybe more. And for some reason, some roguelites just outright don't have a save feature. Like, Binding of Isaac doesn't. If you started a run and you need to go, you're screwed. You have to quit. Returnal didn't have it for quite a while until they updated it and put in the save feature because users demanded it. So, you know, it's great that they introduced something like this, and I'm glad that they have these player-friendly features. So what I'm going to do is, I will be going through the game on this difficulty only because, you know, I've got a fair bit to talk about, but not too much, and this will be a quick enough example of exactly what you're getting into. One more thing before we jump in is the events. This is just little fun extra games you can play on the side. These basically have random rules that you can play with, and they will give you skulls at the end of it. So it's a good way to farm the skulls. This, again, is how you get the artifacts or getting those upgrades for weapons and all things like that. So these are just fun little things to play on the side, especially if you've beaten everything here or you just want a little bit of a challenge. Once you've beaten an event, it will then pop up as a question mark and will refresh in 24 hours. They're nothing, you know, nothing too crazy. I've played a few of them. They're just like little small random rules and stuff. Like one was just everything was just in darkness. I can't remember what the other one was. The other one was something to do with like extra damage or something like that. So So we're going to select this. And ready to jump into a game. Now, as you notice, this is a lot like Slay the Spire before you enter a Slay the Spire game. You've got multiple choices of exactly what route you want to take. You can look up further on to see what route will lead to where, and you can plan your route out. I like this. This is one of my favorite features from Slay the Spire. I love planning out my route, realizing what I'm getting myself into. It really does help in taking away some of that randomness, and makes it does like the game feels fair. Looking at this, I believe I want to go this way. Gold is a very valuable resource in this game, so yeah, I'm gonna pick gold. And I've just been hit by corruption. So every time you enter a doorway, you are going to get corrupted by 20 points. Entering the fiery halls. If you look at the bottom right, there's my corruption, and it's basically a corruption gauge. Now I do have a artifact on that's actually increased it from 100 to 120, but the base is normally 100. And the idea is that when that reaches past 100, one of those, well, the first 3 diamonds is going to light up, and it's going to give you a curse. These curses are modifiers. They are things that will either hinder you or benefit you in some way, but they are completely random. So you want to potentially avoid getting cursed as much as you can. So we're getting into the combat here right now. We'll use that. There we go. That's not very good. So here's like you can get artifacts, weapons, and all things like that. You can have as drops. I don't want this because I don't have any bombs, so I'm actually going to offer it to the gods. And the offer to the gods gives you random things. It would be health, corruption, or money. So I'm going to get that. I'm going to lower my corruption because I don't need it. I'm going to get some gold. There's a secret room here, but I believe without... Oh, let's try to get the stamina up. No. I believe without bombs you can't actually access it. So there's a few things that was going on there with the combat. Oh, we got a little chest over here. Gain 50% damage taken in gold. Yeah, sure. So as I said, you can see that the stamina system is a little bit important here. And I kind of would compare the combat to Bloodborne, if anything. I absolutely adore the combat in this game. It's so fast-paced and quick with the combos and the amount of things you can do here. It's a very unique combat system. It's very fast-paced, but it also does make you aware there is indeed a stamina system. If you run out of stamina, you are going to get hit, and you are going to lose a fair amount of health. So I got a choice between getting more gold or getting a new weapon. It's a bit early, but I also do not like the path of gold, so I'm just going to go to the weapon anyway. And yeah, like in the vein of Bloodborne, very focused on the fast-paced action of the game. Like this. Boom, boom, boom. Dodge that. And you can see there's a little multiplayer that goes on, so even more of an incentive to be as aggressive as you possibly can is to build up this multiplayer. Basically, the more the multiplayer builds up, the more gold you're going to receive after killing the enemies. There you go. And they're all dead. So yeah, so that adds to the aggression factor of the combat there. Let's see, what do I want to get rid of? I can get a lightning hammer. A slaver's mace, that will give me HP for every kill, or a sky hammer, lightning attack, 15 damage when on the light, 10% base damage. Oh, that's a very good item. Now, as you can see, the little issue with this is I don't have enough gold to pay for it. However, I can offer blood. Now, 60 there means I'll gain an extra 60 corruption, so at the moment I've got 36, which means that will now buff up to 96. So I'm way closer to getting corrupted and acquiring a curse. The thing is, the weapon's pretty good, so I would want to try it. Now, this is one of the features I do love about this game. It's a very trying to balance it out. You don't want too many curses because, sure, in some aspects they could benefit you, but more often than not, they're going to really hinder you. And you really got to weigh up your options here. Now, I've got still some space left in order to, go through 3 more rooms before I'm corrupted. So I think this is perfectly fine. And I think the weapon's just too good to just pass up. So I'm going to offer my blood here. And as you can see, there's like 5 curses you can end up having. I just want to show you these little traps. Boom. Now, the curses in of itself, they're very difficult to acquire that end curse. Like, when I said I was experimenting before recording, meant that I was trying to get to that 5th curse. Because up until this point, I have not touched that curse at all. It's been very difficult. I actively had to try to hit that curse marker. And I eventually got it. And all it is just like, just a really bad curse. The one I ended up getting was I kept losing HP gradually into 1 HP and then I'd stop. So here I could choose gold, more gold, or healing, where I can get more of that, or I can get some of them. I would like an artifact. And also I don't need any healing. I haven't taken any damage, so I'll just use gold. So what's more to the combat? Well, so other than just pressing square and triangle and circle every now and again, there's also a dodge and a parry. Now, as I said, I've got a item that will allow me to gain haste whenever I do a perfect dodge. And a perfect dodge is that, where it glows yellow. It's a last second dodge. So that just makes me run faster. And parry, if you get a parry correct, will make the enemy weak. It'll give them in a weakened state. I'll try and see if I can demonstrate a little bit in the next room. The problem with the parrying, though, is that it is extremely difficult in this game. If I can just see if... Fuck. I can't get it right now. I'm going to try and... Come on. There we go. So there he's weakened, which means that he's going to take more damage than normal. The problem with the parrying in this game, and I have no idea why it's so difficult, is the case that... nah. It's so frame perfect you've got to be to time it. Now, I've stated in my previous video, the one to do with Trek to Yomi, that I love the parry mechanics. It's one of my favorite game mechanics. I really enjoy it. I think it's very satisfying because I absolutely love action games. But I don't think I've ever played an action game that is required so much precision in the parrying. I mean, hell, I've been playing Sekiro before playing this, a game that is notorious for how difficult it is, and I am having much harder time with parrying in this game than I ever have in Sekiro, and even in a game like Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, you know? I have no idea why the parrying's so difficult in it. I mean, it's interesting, it's fun, but it's just, I just find it, like, of all games where I'm struggling with parrying, for some reason it's Curse of the Dead Gods. But it really is, like, if you do not get that parry in the exact frame that it wants you to, you're going to get hit. Now, there are enemies that are slower when it comes down to their wind-up animation, so a lot easier to parry, but a lot of the weaker enemies, they are way more difficult to parry. So we're going to go for a relic here, which will give us some form of buff. And here we go, here's the feature of the curse. Blinding Greed. Gold on the ground disappears after a short time. The amount of gold on the ground increases. So not too bad. I just have to pick up gold as fast as possible. There's one little thing that I haven't mentioned, which is probably one of the most important mechanics of this game, which is the dark and light feature, which you've probably noticed during the run, because I've been talking about the combat for the most part. So, as you can see, I've got the torch. The torch is actually really important, because if I turn the torch off, I am now in darkness. As you can see with the little icon at the bottom, light, dark, like that. So, the reason why this is so important is because when you're in the light, you take less damage, Whereas in the darkness, you take, I think it's like 50% more damage while you're in the darkness. So ideally, you want to be in the light of all costs. So there's like the braziers that pop up like this one. If you don't have a brazier about, you can light enemies on fire to make light. And it's essentially, it makes it so that if you are going to get hit, you're not taking as big chunk of damage as you would if you're in the darkness. Very important that you're in the light. Yeah, sure. And I quite enjoy the use of light in this game. I really haven't seen a game implement light in an interesting way for game mechanics since probably Alan Wake is probably where that's the one I can think of off the top of my head. But I really like it. I think it's a really nice, unique feature, and it's things like this that it's like, I feel it's a shame that this does get compared to Hades a lot, because it really does do unique things. Another thing as well is you can see this trap here that I can see very clearly, but if I'm in the darkness, oh look, the trap's just not there. Oh, there it is. Last second. Yeah, light's also important for like revealing traps and all things like that, so you definitely want the light on at all times. There's a fun little thing. Press R1, boop, jump away. So yeah, it really does go hard on the dungeon crawling aspect. Like, it aesthetically looks fantastic. As I said, I love the art style. It's very unique, and I just love the level design of the dungeons. It really does feel like a proper dungeon crawler in the literal sense. You know, you've got like traversing of environments, you've got these traps, you've got the torch, the old torch that you're running around with, you know, the cracked floor tiles, the bones, all these little bones that are like sticking out as part of the... Oh, it's brilliant. I love this. I love the level design. As I said, each level has its own unique take. This is the fire element, you've got the lightning element, the swamp element. Really nice level design. Taking damage, gold offering, remove 10 corruption. Oh, this just gives me an overall +2 on everything. Yeah, I'll take that. And with that, with the constitutions there, the red, blue, and green. So these are essentially health, damage, and treasure in the bottom left. You know, just standard stats that you normally get with dungeon crawlers. It's just things you can pick up along the way. You can probably see this will give me buffs to it. You often get items like this one that will scale with a certain stat. So this one scales with dexterity, which is my highest one at the moment, so this makes the most sense to grab. And yeah, just added stuff to help strengthen you up as a character. So I got a choice between getting more attributes, so buffing them up, or upgrading my weapons. I think I want to upgrade my weapon. I think I'm a little bit on the weak side other than my heavy weapon. Let's have a look what's in here. As I said, there's no brazier here, so I'm just going to light this guy on fire so I've got in the light. There you go. Problem is with those enemies is that they actually teleport away. And when they teleport away... Oh, I've run out of stamina. Oops. That cost me. When they run out of stamina... No, not when they run out of stamina. When they disappear, they lose the fire effect, which is quite annoying. There you go. Nice bit of greed. Nice bit of gold. I'll go with the shop here. That's not a good upgrade. That's not a good upgrade. None of them are good. This was a bit of a pointless endeavor. And also in terms of when we're talking about the level design, the enemy variety is pretty great as well. Like the enemies you see in this level are completely different to the enemies you're going to see in the lightning and the poison area, which I really like. I'm glad they didn't try to be lazy and just use the same enemies for every area. I'm glad each area has their own unique enemy and level design. And it really helps set it apart in actually making them feel like different unique locations rather than just having one singular like form of level design and one singular form of enemies. That makes it that even though the theme is different, the levels are ultimately the same. So that is pretty great. There you go. I'll let you come up. go. So what's this here? Extra base damage. Okay, that's better. 20% down to inflict lightning damage. Now that's not too bad. If I just have a check. I was going to say, if I get a lightning artifact, this actually works out better for me because we've already got a lightning weapon here. So I might do this for... Well... Now we'll up the base damage for this. I haven't had a very successful run with this, unfortunately. It's just how it normally is with the RNG. There is still RNG in this game, but you know, it does do its best to mitigate that factor as best as it possibly can, and it does allow you to, you know, control the game in a way. But one thing I do love is that normally with roguelites, you're normally starting to feel better at the game or more powerful when you start getting upgrades. However, this game is unique in the sense, I was stupid, in that I feel that I'm getting better naturally. Like, yes, I have access to more powerful weapons, but not initially. Use this as an environment. But for the most part, I do feel that I'm getting better at the game through the skill and knowledge of the gameplay and the enemies and their patterns, rather than just simply that I'm upgrading and that I'm becoming stronger naturally. So thus I am becoming better at the game just because I'm more powerful than I was at the beginning. There we go. Let's have a look at this artifact. The weakened state. Killing a burning enemy restores 1% max HP. It's fine because I can light them on fire on my torch. And let's finish this off with Relic. There are random rooms in this game, as you can see there again, vary in the form of Slay the Spire. And it's just a complete random room that you'll just get into. It's not like Slay the Spire in terms of events. The only different rooms that you'll end up getting on the question mark is either a room where you got to defeat enemies to get an artifact, or you got to kill certain amount of enemies before the gold disappears. Some bridges now burn with a dark flame and cannot be lit. Ah, I hate this one. Makes the light impossible. Oh, and by the way, you know what I was talking about with the save feature? You can actually, at the beginning here... it's actually gone now, I was made it. But yeah, if you go at the beginning of the room, you can actually save. Save and quit. Go. Block that. Can't deflect it, but... See... Taking damage from an enemy deals 30% of taken damage to any... Wait, what? Taking damage from an enemy deals 30% of taken damage to enemies around. We're not parrying an awful lot. We could just get rid of this. There is one thing as well with the... Oh, we can actually blow this up. Get into the secrets. Ah. Nothing there. And there's the secret, and I can't get to it. You, I can get to. Nope. In terms of weapon variety as well, it said you've got the claws here, you've got the whip and the hammer, there's spears, there's bows, there's swords, there's maces. There's quite a fair amount of variety when it comes down to it. And there's even a shield. So earlier I was complaining about like the parry timing, how very precise it needs to be. Shields do give you a bit of a window to parry better, but it's still pretty tricky. You know, I'm not going to say it makes it easier because it really doesn't. All right, so there's nothing there. As I said, there's no map either. There's no mini map at all to look at. Again, like in the vein of something like Binding of Isaac, you are literally dungeon crawling in order to find your way around. But the level design is easy enough that you're going to be able to work out where you're going. And the level generation itself, it's not too crazy. No damage attacks, 4% damage per 1,000 gold. Yeah. We bump it up by 4? I'm going to use a favor here to refresh. I'm not really liking them. Shields, gains objects, heals 9%. Now we're basically at the boss room, which will end the run here. So we kind of... I'm just going to use another refresh. Heals 6% of gold offering, 4% base damage per 1,000 gold carried. Level +1 on two-handed weapon. We can use blood, because that will be enough. There you go. And now we are at the boss. Now, the difference is, now again, like other roguelites, bosses tend to be randomized and be different on certain levels. Not crazy different, but like you'll normally have a pool of maybe like 2 or 3 different bosses in the first level. This game, the boss is always the same. So you're always going to be fighting the same boss, whichever level you get to. So the first boss here is always the same. If you play the 2-level one, you're always going to fight the same 2 bosses, and so on and so forth. So the Blood Hunter, this is a guy that just throws jaguars at you, and then throws a spear every now and again. There you go. Dodge. Parry that. I normally like to save 1 stamina, so that way then if I do need to dodge out of the way, I can just do that. Bloody dodge there. As you can probably see, what I do kind of like about this is that it means that you do get a lot of practice with the boss. It means that you get a lot of the timings right. Oh, he's going to summon them. So we can make the bosses quite easy. Like there, I don't think I took... Did I even take damage in that fight? I don't think I did. But I guess it just kind of shows how often I end up fighting these bosses. And here you go. So this is basically your end rewards. You get the rings and the skull. Now, if you do manage to go through past this level, you can actually remove 1 curse as well. So if I had 2 curses there, I was actually able to disregard one of the curses. But because we picked the 1 boss run, it means that now the boss is finished, we actually press this and we'll return back to the hub world. And there we go. 100%. Took me 13 minutes 56 seconds in order to beat it. And we're back. And then it's the cycle has continued. In terms of any story, there is no story here. The guy, this guy here, no idea who the hell he is. You see him in a cutscene at the beginning of the game when he gets trapped in a cave. And that's about it. The game really does not focus on story at all, which I think is perfectly fine. I'm more than happy to have a roguelite where I can just jump straight in and just play it whenever I want. Again, it's very friendly in that regard. You know, compared to something like Hades, where the game is way more story focused, so a lot of the times you are focusing on learning a bit of the story before you're able to just play through the game. And as you can see here, the items have randomized, and you can pick new items and progress through the game again. I just want to quickly show you what it would be like if we were to go for a 2-boss run. As you can see, you go up here, you defeat the first boss, and then you have to continue and go through a bunch more rooms into the second boss, and it is the same deal if you go to the 3rd room. As you can see, 1, 2, 3. Overall, I really like this game. I think it is a fantastic roguelite. I really recommend, if you haven't played this game yet, or you haven't downloaded it on PS Plus, I highly recommend that you do. The combat is fluid, it's fast-paced, yet it makes you conscious of your stamina, and makes it that you can't just outright button spam. The game is extremely fair. I have never died and thought the game had bullshit in me in regards to death. If you enjoy dungeon crawlers, this is a really great dungeon crawler to play. But as I said, I would mainly play it for the gameplay. The combat is great, it's fast, it's punishing. You will get punished if you make mistakes. If you run out of stamina, you are going to get hit a lot, and you're going to get hit hard. It was just because I've played this game quite a fair amount now that I'm kind of a bit good at the beginning bit. A little of the later on ones, you know, I am getting hit quite a fair bit, and I will die a fair bit there, but You know, that is mainly the tutorial area, but it's more just to show you. As you can see here, this is the pistol that you can use. Range weapons. And I said that you've got also that. You've also got the bow. Oh, if I just that. And there's also bombs, like dynamite. Boom, like that. So yeah, as I said, it's free on PS Plus if you can get it. However, even if it costs money, I highly recommend this game. It's a fantastic game to play. It's a brilliant roguelike. A lot of fun in the combat. As I said, I think it's very fair and a pretty great gameplay loop. And even then, it's a great game to let you just pick up, play for a bit, and drop if you want to, if you so desire. So yeah, overall, highly recommend this game. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.